Welcome to All Things Chiropractic.
Welcome to another episode of All Things Chiropractic. I'm Paul Andrews.
And I'm Dr. Mark Davini.
Well, today's podcast, I think everyone's going to stop and want to listen to every word.
Every word. It'll be to your advantage.
Ooh. Is chiropractic profitable?
Great question. So our goal here today is to adjust your finances.
Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, there's a pun there. Love it. So probably right at first blush, most people saying, well, it isn't as profitable as it used to be, right? So that may or may not be true. Let's break it down. Let's start with, I don't know, the side of chiropractic that gets such little attention, the business side.
Oh my God. You mean we're a business?
Believe it or not, docs, you may not have gone to school to be a business owner, but you likely are a business owner.
Absolutely. Again, we wanted to go to school and we want to help people, but we also have to be able to still be there.
Yeah. And
if you're a business,
if you're an associate, you have a wonderful opportunity to learn the business side to maybe know whether you would or wouldn't want to operate your own chiropractic office.
And more as time goes on, young docs are coming out of school and they don't want any of the responsibility of running a business. So that's a great opportunity for those of you who do, because there's a whole wealth of a whole pool of docs out there that just really want a good paying job and to help people.
Now, one would think that we're going to start with insurance reimbursement, but I don't want to start there because you treat patients. You don't treat an insurance carrier. They're not on your table. You're not adjusting an insurance carrier's spine. It's an entity. It's not a person.
But if it's not covered, I can't do it.
I can't. I just
I had to back away when I said that.
I can't.
I can't do that. They don't cover it.
I had someone once, they had this toothache. It was a pretty bad toothache. And I said, well, you got to go to the dentist. I can't. I go, what do you mean you can't? Well, I don't have dental insurance. I said, but you have to.
Your tooth doesn't know that.
It's not going to go away. They disagreed with me, but guess where they ended up in a day or two after that conversation?
Well, she chewed her Blue Cross Blue Shield card and figured that didn't work, so I'm going to have to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Went to the dentist because you had to.
Had to.
It's not, even though money seems to be the primary or in our vision for every decision, the reality is there's a lot you can do to make chiropractic more profitable if you're not doing these things already. And I wanted to just kind of like start there because
it's really it.
Yeah. I mean, talking about insurance reimbursement could be probably its own podcast. It'll probably be like me bitching and moaning the whole time. So please tune into that. But
yes, because we'd love to hear Paul bitch and moan.
Yeah, right, exactly. But so I'm going to start with those that may or may not know. So there's something called Financial Peace University, and it's something that was created by Dave Ramsey, financial guru guy. And my wife and I started doing it years ago. And I have to say, it really was an amazing transformation, both financially, but also personally. Like our relationship wasn't about money, whether it's arguments or just, disagreements. And the funny thing is, this is human nature. You're going to laugh at this, right? So I feel so stupid even admitting this. But so we were doing very successful in this Financial Peace University. It's a whole 7 steps towards financial freedom. It sounds gimmicky, but it's not. The epicenter of it is budgeting, right? We were doing really well. And after like 4 years of really doing well, getting out of debt, increasing wealth, paying off a mortgage, things like that, it never occurred to me during that whole personal journey to do it for my business. Literally never did. Until one day I said to I think it was like New Year's doing like goals. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't understand. I'm saying this to myself. Right. I don't understand. Why am I not doing this? And so I did. And it only took about 12 months to not owe the bank money, because when you first start out in business, right, you need money, and banks are hesitant to give you money. But if you can convince them,
eventually,
right. So then, I did what most small business owners did. I took out a credit line, and then I maxed it out and couldn't pay it off. So they said, well, we need to convert this to a loan. So they do. And then guess what they give you? Another credit line.
Another credit line, because now you need money to pay off the credit line that you couldn't pay off. So I'll give you another credit line.
Literally, the bank did this for me 4 times.
Yeah.
So I literally, for the business, but they're personally guaranteed, I had 3 loans and a maxed out credit line.
Yeah, but they weren't loans. They were lines of credit.
No, they converted them to loans.
They start out lines of credit.
Yeah, they convert them to loans, and then they give you another line of credit because they're not stupid. Like, we got you.
They own you, especially if it's secured. Yeah.
So the moral of the story there, other than my stupidity for ignoring it for so many years, was if you have a process that's proven, I don't care who you use, if it's Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University or some other guru, something that's proven, I dare say that the epicenter of all of them is going to be budgeting, which I hated that word budgeting. I'm like, oh, all it is a no. It's ridiculous, but it actually became yeses. And it was actually kind of fun to focus in on what you really have to know is your spending habits.
Right. And, when you analyze that into, is chiropractic profitable? It really is saying, is any business profitable? If you're going to apply the principles that we're talking about here, that there are certain things specific to chiropractic, and we'll get into a few of those, of course, but generally it's something you have to do for all businesses. And it really is shocking to me how many chiropractors don't run their business like a business.
Well, I dare say when they go into chiropractic school, they probably have a business class, but I'm guessing it's towards the end of their education cycle, and it's probably not super robust, to use my word.
Yeah.
Right?
If at all,
right.
Basically tell you just, you're a business. We've just done the whole course right there.
Yeah. You need an MPI number. You need a credential. What does that mean?
Set up your billing, you
codes.
Have staff. But again, people have no idea what is involved in running a business, because we don't go to school for business unless maybe our undergrad, we had some business courses. But most of us just delved into the sciences and didn't ever think that we were a business, because guess what? I'm coming out to help people.
Well, and inherently, the system is not set up for you to learn this stuff. You don't get it in high school. And like you said, unless you're focused on finance or business, you're not getting it in college. As a matter of fact, what do you do when you first get to college? You are inundated with free T-shirts to sign up for credit cards. Like the banks are getting you right there, right? So the culture of debt is pervasive in our society.
You're starting when you graduate, you're starting out life usually in an extreme amount of debt, to begin with. And when you made decisions to do things like go to school and spend 40, 50, 60 grand, a semester, a year. So you decide then, was that a business choice or was that an emotional choice? So when it comes to the chiropractic practice, there's so many of the choices are emotional choices, and they don't stop to think about the business repercussions.
Right.
Some of the key factors that we talked about before was, location. Where is your practice?
I have to say that you may not think about it, that location does have a real big influence on the type of practice that you may have. So if you're someone who wants, let's say, a concierge self-pay practice, but you're putting yourself into an urban environment where there isn't a lot of, let's say, disposable income, or it's a depressed area, you might not be in the best location for that model. I'm just
If you're going to ask for money every time they come in and out of your office, and those people don't have a lot of discretionary cash, certainly money is going to be a major guide in their life.
If your chiropractic philosophy is very straight, right? Very natural, very anti-medicine, and you put your practice next to a hospital, you might have some issues attracting the patient base that comes by you every day.
So you really have to put a thought to where, when we say emotional versus business, the emotional decision is, I'm going home. I have all my friends and all my relatives, and that's how I'm going to build the practice because they all love me. And I can tell you right now, after years and years of doing this, who makes the worst patients in your practice?
Well,
generally, friends and relatives.
Yeah.
Generally. Right. Okay, so
it's tough to be a profiteer in your, with your own family in a sense.
So location matters. And again, look at, if you're trying to decide on a location to come out and start your practice or maybe relocate your practice, look at it not just from your emotional perspective, but from your business perspective.
Right.
Same thing with your model, your operating model.
Right. Is your business model or the way and the patient base you have, is it something that you molded and directed, or was it just a reaction to circumstances? Meaning, well, I'm really have become a cash-based practice because there's not a ton of insurance reimbursement where I am. Right. But I'm not maybe my personality isn't so dynamic that doesn't work well with trying to attract cash.
Yeah, you might be a cash self-paid practice, but by default. So we're talking about choosing here. When we say, is chiropractic profitable, it really can only be profitable if you choose the direction of your practice and plan and set goals and budgets, and so that the business aspect of it becomes real. That's what operating costs are all about. Guess what? Minimum wages are going up across the country. Minimum wages are not minimum anymore. Here in Massachusetts, we have a $15 minimum wage, which generally means you're not hiring anybody in a minimum wage job for under $20, $22 an hour. Now, all of a sudden, that becomes an issue because you go, well, geez, that's a lot of money. If you're trying to get somebody skilled, you're going to be in that $25 to $30 range here in Massachusetts. And the jobs that we're asking them to do now with computers and technology.
Do you know the average hourly wage in Massachusetts?
No.
Now, we do have an epicenter of professionals, healthcare especially, but it's $42 and change.
$42 and change. And to get someone with skills, you're going to have to be paying more than what you think you should be paying somebody. That's a business thing now. All of a sudden, well, I can't afford to pay somebody $25, $30 an hour. So, but you want them to run a computer. You want them to understand the internet in a way that they can interact with. And so it's no longer just somebody being able to answer phones and schedule appointments.
If they can ring a register for about the same money, why would they take on the responsibility?
Here we have people in Duncan being hired for $20 an hour. But you want them to come in for $18 an hour and take all the responsibilities of your office. Because let's face it, docs love to pass the buck.
Well, some docs might be saying right now, well, you're proving my point why it's not profitable or as profitable because I have to spend so much money on labor. But the reality is, I'm going to ask you a question, docs. Do you know your per patient visit average cost?
We do, because we teach our people how to do that, and we have the resources on our website at Tools of Practice to do that.
Right.
But no, do you? That's a great question.
Right, because if you know that, and one of your goals is to drive down the per patient visit average cost by doing the things you need to do, like with a budget, reviewing how you're spending your money, then your profit can increase just by that alone. Or you can find the money to attract a career path CA versus someone who just warms a seat and answers a phone.
So are you looking for someone that's necessary to increase your business, practice business, or are you looking for someone that's a luxury? For example, if I have to pay somebody $25 an hour to empty my baskets at the end of the night, maybe I might rethink doing it myself.
Yeah. Do it yourself.
Because face it, we are chief cook and bottle washers in our practice. That's the nature of a small business, that the owners are also the workers. And over the years, I think chiropractors have reached that point where they go, oh, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to do the billing, and I don't want to do this. And they stop passing it off to their assistants, which when assistants could be hired at a reasonable rate, that luxury didn't break the bank. But that's a luxury now that you as a business person have to say, should I or should I not be paying somebody that much money to perform that particular service?
And you can't autopilot your practice, docs, right? So in the same vein of knowing or not knowing your per patient visit average cost, do you know your per patient visit average collected? What does it cost?
I charge a ton of money. I'm good.
Listen.
I charge a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, great. You bill whatever you want. What are you getting collected? So, because the difference between those two statistics is really what your pay is.
Right. And you, believe it or not, and this was a very harsh reality in my brain when I was practicing, but at some point in time, I realized I'm a piece worker.
P-E-A-C-E or P-I-E-C-E?
P-I-E-C-E. I get paid only when I see somebody. And it's not quite, assembly line, or it shouldn't be assembly line, but definitely a piece worker. If they don't come in and I don't treat them and I don't get paid, I don't make a living. So as a business person, we have to look at what does it cost to, in the manufacturing world, you'd want to know how much does it cost to make that widget. In the chiropractic world, how much does it cost to treat a patient?
Right. So there's always two sides to a balance sheet, right? So as you're looking at the expense side of your ledger and you're trying to drive that down like any good business would, also look at the income side and what can I do that's going to enhance patient care, but also enhance my bottom line.
Right. And I'm even going to ask the question, can you read a ledger? Do you know how to read a balance sheet?
I mean, I have I'm meeting with my accountant. Sometimes I get lost in that.
Right. But I mean, basics, the basics, the fundamentals of being in business. So again, we always had the luxury of passing off all those things I don't like, I don't know, I don't want to do, because we also had the luxury of being able to afford other people to do them for us. Now that the cost of having, I have a guy for that kind of thing, there's only so many guys you can have for that before all of a sudden you realize you're working for somebody else. I actually had a practice once tell me that they were collecting less than what it cost them to treat that patient. And the question comes out to be, well, why would you do that? And the answer was, well, we'll hope to make it up in volume. All right. So there's an understanding there that's lost. You're not going to make more if each person makes you less.
Yeah.
No matter how many people you see.
You're digging a bigger hole.
That's all. It's a shovel.
Right. So let's take a look at the income side for a minute. I think there's, unfortunately, a lot of doctors that are shy about self-pay services for some reason. Now, I understand the pushback. The patients are paying a lot for healthcare. They're paying a lot in copays. They're paying a lot for their share of, employer-based health insurance premiums, things like that. However, it's all about perceived value, right? Really?
But Paul, I'm not a salesman. I don't want to sell. I'm here to help people. I want to get them well. I'm not a salesman.
I dare say you don't have to be a salesman. You have to be a doctor.
Exactly.
Right? Matter of fact, we did an interview with a salesperson, Deb Zala from Avant. That's one of our podcasts. And nowhere in it did she ever talk about pushing anybody into purchasing anything. In all her years of sales of many kinds, never once was it about pressure or about offering or trying to direct somebody into something that they don't need and or want. It's about you, doctor. If you believe in a service, if you you went and you learned about something new, and it's like, this is really going to help my patients, and your passion is there to help your patients, then I dare say that the quote unquote sale of that self-pay service will be a little bit easier because they can see that you believe in what you're doing and you can create metrics to help them show that it's actually working.
Generationally, that is so true, because generationally, in a sense, there was a time where most of the chiropractors became chiropractors because chiropractic changed their life. Or maybe they had a parent that was a chiropractor, but mostly because chiropractic changed their life. So the importance of an adjustment was so embedded in their brains because, like myself, I couldn't imagine what my life would be like if I had never been to a chiropractor, because I became a chiropractor from a motorcycle accident, which we talked about in other podcasts. But the point is, I would not be the person I am now if it wasn't for chiropractic. So when somebody tells me they can't afford an adjustment, what's the answer in my brain? You can't afford to not have an adjustment.
Sure. Right?
And if you don't believe that, then chiropractic may never be profitable for you.
Ooh.
Because this is something that comes down to the core of who and what and why you are a chiropractor.
So when we were talking about profitability, I think that we took a direction that maybe some weren't prepared for us to take, which is it's not about what the insurance is reimbursing you per se. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't look at your per patient visit average cost, because if the total allowable from the carrier you're in contract with is less than that, you really should think about whether or not you want to stay in contract or in network with that carrier. Because if they're really paying you with both the allowable total, right? So whatever the insurance pays you, whatever the copay or patient responsibility portion is, if that total allowable is less than your cost, then you're going to go out of business if you're relying on that carrier. And it's okay to go out of network, docs. It's okay to be out of network.
Oh my God. Seriously.
And if you get out of network, please don't pretend like you're still in network.
Oh, I mean, that's okay. I'm out of network, but I submitted the bills. They didn't tell me what I wanted, and now they want to see the records, and they want to do this, and they want to do that. And it's like, if you're out of network, why did you act like you were in network?
Cake and eat it too, perhaps?
Yeah,
I don't know. But
maybe.
To me, it's like, why would you want to deal with all of that and get paid less than it actually costs you to be in business?
And here's a thought to keep in mind. You're a business, and you need to do things to make sure that you maximize your profit, so that when you do treat a patient, that per patient cost makes you money per patient. And here's a thought. Insurance companies are in the same business as you. They're also trying to make a profit and maximize their profits, which means, unfortunately, you're going to be in the end of that stick. You're going to be the one that gets cut, or they're going to try and pay you as little as possible to do what you do. So when we talk about chiropractic being profitable, it's exactly what Paul just said. We're not basing this on what an insurance company pays. We're basing this on the fact that you present a value to patients that make what they pay easy, because to them, it's worth it.
Right. So what are the practical sort of takeaways here from today? I think some of the practical takeaways are knowing your per patient visit average cost and your per patient visit average collection. Getting yourself, if you're not already, on a business budget so you know where the money's going and you can make your assessment and redirect or trim where you can from a business perspective. Increasing your self-pay services so that you're not relying on an insurance reimbursement.
This is a good podcast. What will be self-pay services? I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then, at the end of the day, part of your budgeting should be to create an emergency fund of some kind so that you can weather storms. I can tell you that for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, providers are shocked at the first quarter of every year being low insurance collections. They're shocked. They've been in business for years.
Oh, it's been so slow this past January. Oh, yeah. Really? You mean like,
where's the money?
Where's the money?
By March, they're like, and we have to remind them that a lot, not all, but most insurance policies reset at the beginning of the calendar year, which means their deductibles are now in play. And by the way, their copays never go down. They're probably going up. So you want to take a look at creating a rainy day fund so that when it's time to harvest, you keep some for the winter, so to speak.
Yeah, and think of your business, your practice as a business. So one of the things that I used to make as a business decision was understanding that deductibles might happen in the beginnings of the year. That would be the time I did my re-exams on my regular patients, whatever period of time. You know, if it's
what's a re-exam? We don't do that.
Well, that's another good podcast, right? But it would be time to maybe do updated exams or x-rays on your maintenance patients. Oh, it's been, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years, forever since I've done one, because that would allow the patients to come in. You get to refocus them as a patient, re-educate them as to why they're coming in. They'll more than likely have to pay for it because of the deductibles, but then what they pay gets applied to the deductibles, which helps you later on down the road. That's a business thought. That's doing something that is necessary, clinically justifiable, but yet it's a business decision. So we want you to start thinking of your practices as a practice. Be the best chiropractor, the best doctor you can be to these people, but recognize that on the other side of that coin, you're still a business.
One of our popular resources on our website for our members is our overhead analysis, my video, and the spreadsheet for them to help calculate their own. I mean, if you can't do it yourself, or you say, I stink at this, I'm not good at money, or, I don't have the bandwidth, find a mentor, find a service, find something that's going to assist you so that you can analyze and take a look at what is your current profitability or not, so that you can turn things around so that you feel like you're getting a reward beyond patient satisfaction. Maybe a financial reward would be helpful too.
Yeah. And it may also be one of those things where you go, guess what? And we've talked about this in the past. It may be time that maybe I just want to work for somebody. There are a lot of docs out there who are good business people who need associates who want a good pay for a good day's work. And maybe you are one of those people. But if you think you can be a person who doesn't like business and doesn't want to focus on business and then run your own business, that's where the problem comes in.
Right. And how do you figure that out? One thing is to budget your time. Just like you have a schedule for your patients, have a schedule for your business responsibilities, and perhaps a little introspection on top of it all.
There you go. Do what you love, right?
Yeah. So we like to end with quotes. Do you have one?
I do. From Henry David Thoreau. Do not hire a man who does your work for money, but him who does it for love of it.
That is so true, right? They say if you follow your passion, the money will come in behind you.
Right.
Right?
Money should be a byproduct of great value.
Ooh, we'll leave it at that. Hey, thanks again for joining us for another episode of All Things Chiropractic. I'm Paul Andrews.
I'm Dr. Mark Davini.
Thanks for listening to All Things Chiropractic. We'd love to hear from you. Visit allthingschiropractic.com with comments, episode ideas, or questions. Or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at All Things Chiropractic Podcast. Be sure to join Dr. Mark Davini and Paul Andrews next time for another episode of All Things Chiropractic.